two cars in this race. One of the Mazda RX-7's left behind on the starting grid there. Let's hope he didn't drop the lead.
She's a bit feisty. Firstly, you sort out your car with all tires, and then you put new tires on and you'll instantly go quicker. So at the moment, she's got almost 4.5-year-old semi-slicks on it, so the rubber on her is not really great, but it's doing the job. She's very nervous. The tail end is a bit happy when the tires are warm and you're overheating them. Gear shifts are crisp. She's a bit of a boat on the track. She's heavy and the center of gravity is very high. So it's look, there's a smile. There's a massive smile under your helmet. And racing against cars of the same era, the Alphas, all the other cars, it's the Escorts. It's to me, it's heaven. It's such an enjoyable thing. You don't only focus on enjoying yourself in the car, you're also enjoying it with other guys that are just as passionate and enthusiastic about their own discipline. If it's an Alpha, it's a Ford, it's a Fiat, or it's anything. You know, it's a passion that we've got for motor racing, historic racing, and we enjoy it. My name is Riaan. I drive a 1982 Nissan Stanza. We built the car as a tribute to the 1982 Castrol 1000 raced by Dick Sorensen and Barry Flowers. On the little 510 behind me is a number plate LFB 049T. That is where it all started. We grew up with racing, we grew up with oval track, we grew up with Nissan and Datsun. So when we had the option of buying our first cars, we decided to go the Datsun route. When it was my chance to get a car, I chose the same way. Mine was just in a much worse condition, so it was my first taste of restoring a car. And it took me about 1.5 years to rebuild the car. And then finally, yeah, I can still kick myself about it, but yeah, I drove it for like 4 months and swapped it for another Datsun. Okay, so the Stanza took roughly 3 years to complete. We wanted something in the collection that we can just jump in and drive and take to a track without overcomplicating everything by running high compression. Your chances of breaking the engine is much higher and your maintenance on the engines are much higher. It was a rather difficult process finding all the parts that were required for the car. Luckily I had most of it due to it being a 6-7 year dream to actually try and replicate this car. The car took shape quite quickly. Then we started building the engine and got that all in. And then we saw the wiring on the car wasn't really up to scratch, so we completely rewired the car. And it took us a few months to get the thing started. One of the choke tubes, one of the auxiliary venturis turned inside the carb and we didn't notice it. So a few months down the road we finally found that error, and yet again she's purring like a kitten now. The original car made 132 horsepower and 158 Newton meters of torque. So we're not very far off that power figures. The specs on the car is as follows. She's running 4-pot AP calipers on the front. The shocks have been done by Ian Glass in Cape Town. The front suspension is completely road jointed, so for ease of maintenance and also to get some more direct feel. Motor is an L18 Datsun engine that we try to build as period specific as possible. Uncle Dick Sorensen is a very good friend of mine. He gave me all the info of his original textbooks, the dynograph, all the information was given by him to me. And we used that to try and keep the motor as close as possible to the period spec that it was raced in. And yeah, it's been a lifelong passion building this car. Searched far and wide to get the right donor to actually build the replica. Most of the parts on the car comes from a era-specific Stanza that I searched for about 6 years. Finally found it in Windhoek at a pawn shop, paid ridiculously low money for it and towed it back to South Africa. That car is still being built. The body kit, the wheels, the motor and the gearbox is all fitted on this car to make it as period specific as possible. She ain't perfect, and that's what we were looking for. These cars were built very, very roughly back in the day, and they were built to go fast. It wasn't a beauty contest. The cars were still looking good for its time. And the livery which we chose was one of the most beautiful liveries that was in the 80s. The car was only raced, I think, in 3 races in this livery. And the carry-on color scheme that's been taken from the original BP 2000 livery, that 140Ys, 140Zs, the manufacturer's challenge Stanza, all raced in that livery. So it hits home to the nostalgic factor of the Datsun Motorsport years. With this car was on the dyno. The Tuesday morning before the first race, we had a distributor failure. The pedestal on the distributor broke, and I had to go from Joburg to Middelburg quickly and fetch another distributor. And we plugged the thing in, and the car was dead. I know the distributor worked. It's on one of my other cars, and how can I say, all the positive just went down, and it was out. I was almost crying, to be honest. And then luckily it was a small issue with the RPM limiter in the MSD. It was cutting at 3,500 RPM. It was cutting the spark from the motor. And yeah, out the trailer, on the dyno. I hate dynos. It's car breakers in my opinion. But it's a very valuable thing to check your CO levels and make sure the car's running properly. But it's a very nervous time. And we pulled up on the dyno, and Travis was revving the thing till about 10,000 in my opinion. It's only 6.5, but it sounded like 10,000 to me. And that lump in your throat and going over to the dyno screen and seeing what she's making. With me knowing what the original car made, I knew with a lower compression we were very close, and that gave me immense joy to see that figure.
Reps couldn't see it as he went past. We return you from an exciting day's racing to the studio in Johannesburg.
Do you like clothes? I do. This is available right now on our Sentimental shop. Just go to Cars.co.za/shop or look for the description in the link below. See what I did there? Just trying to catch you out. And we've got tons of exclusive merchandise which is designed and made exclusively for our store. I said exclusive twice because it's very exclusive. Also hats.